Hey y'all, and welcome back to Empty Pockets Ironworks. For today's project, we're going to be creating one of our signature spring turkey feathers. This is made out of 1/4-inch rod and 14 gauge sheet metal. If you don't have access to a plasma, this is a relatively easy project and can be cut out with a 4.5-inch or 4-inch angle grinder and a cutoff wheel. Always use your proper PPE. Let's get started. Utilizing a real turkey feather, I make just a rough outline using a silver Sharpie marker. This approach has worked really well for me, and in all honesty, out of about 15 to 20 turkey feathers that we've done, I've used the exact same turkey feather that was given to me by a very good friend from a spread mount that he had, or fan mount, and it actually looks a little bit better each time that I use it. It gets used and abused, but the more and more tore up it gets, the more character it adds, and it works out better as far as the artistry goes in creating the feather. Now here you can see I'm using the Jegs Plasma Pro Cut 40. It's just a little 110-220 AC inverter plasma cutter. It works really well. I've talked about it in a few other videos. As you can see, it makes a really nice clean cut, and the consumables for it aren't that expensive if you purchase them from eBay. So, nifty little tip. The only thing that I don't like about this plasma, and you can see there, is the button for activation is actually mounted on the back of the torch, and it will cause some cramping of the thumb. Now there's really no need to explain what's going on here. I'm just knocking off whatever little bit of scale there is from the plasma. And I don't know that I show it in the video, but I do kind of add a little bit of texture with the stone grinder wheel at the top of the feather on the opposite side. And the reason for that is it will come into play a little bit later on as far as creating the texture and feather effect at the top of the feather. There you can see it at the left-hand side of the screen. Now here I'm going to measure this out at approximately 10 inches. So you can see this whole project is about 12 to 13 inches long. Just using a piece of 1/4-inch rod. This is a piece of scrap that I had laying around from another project. We're going to cut it off at approximately 10 inches. And then we are going to shape the end of it, which you'll see in the next video segment. Kind of bring it down to a point, not necessarily on all sides. You're going to grind it down symmetrically from the top and the sides so that the point lays flat. And this is actually going to become the vein inside of the feather. So I'm going to let the video play for a little bit, and I'll chime in occasionally. For this following step, you can see that I've tacked the vein in place in 3 different spots. Try to keep them as even as possible. It's not crucial. Here I'm just going to use a basic loop pattern and connect the tack points together. And in doing so, I'm actually going to skip back and forth across the feather. If you do end up with some warping, don't worry about it, because we will be going over to the anvil and adding in some texture a little bit later. And during that time, you can actually straighten the feather out. So, you know, it's a feather. It's not exactly completely flat, so a little bit of warpage is good. There you can see I'm skipping over to the other side. Unfortunately, I didn't show what I do at the end of the vein at the top of the feather. for that, I actually just kind of tack around and stitch my tacks together to kind of maintain some of the point. And from this section here, momentarily we're going to be locking it horizontally and vertically up and down into the vise, and I'll be grinding out the vein. Now in the welding process here, you can see as I'm going along, I'm actually running the welder a little hot, and I'm doing that on purpose because I want to undercut. And the undercut is actually going to help shape the center vein. When you go to grind here momentarily with the angle grinder using a stone disc to really hog off some material, you can shape it out so that it kind of brings the vein itself to a point, which is very, very similar, very ideally it's very realistic as far as metal art is concerned in relationship to the real feather, and that's why I do it. So just keep following along. We're about halfway through the vid, I think, and yeah, hopefully I haven't lost your interest at this point. I promise you this will look pretty cool by the time we're done. For this segment here, I'm using the back end of a 4-pound vertical cross peen hammer, or straight peen as it's better known, and the material is not heated up. You can't really tell, but in the background the forge is not on. I have not heated it with a torch. It's just mild steel, and this is a 4-pound hammer, so as long as you're careful not to damage your anvil face or whatever hard surface you're using. You can actually use a board underneath it too, and it works just fine, but you will warp the material quite a bit. And this is just to add in a little bit more texture. Now this is an old antique straight peen hammer that was given to me by my father-in-law, and I love this hammer, and I usually use it in situations like this to kind of add in fine detail. And it was probably the third hammer that I got as far as when I first started blacksmithing. He gave it to me. It was in a state of disrepair and told me I could have it if I wanted to fix it up, and it's proven to be a very valuable tool in my arsenal of hammers. For this part of the process, you can see I've stuck the feather directly under the flame in the forge. If you don't have access to a forge, don't worry. For this next part, where we're going to be brassing, here you can see it, using a soft bristled brass brush to transfer, all you need is just some heat. You can achieve the same effect by putting it in the oven, using a small butane torch or propane torch, or even an oxyacetylene torch. You need it kind of at a blue heat, and as it starts to cool down, you can see you can transfer the brass from the brush to the material. Pretty neat technique. It's the same technique that I use on all of our roses that we make as well. And you don't want it to backsplash, but you do want to cool it off. And from here we're going to be taking it over to our air hammer with a modified chisel tip that I made. It's sharp at one end and it's a little bit more blunt at the other, and this is what I use to make the texture, which I'll show you in the next few slides, on the end of the feather. It's also the same tool that I use for texturing our rose petals, which is in another video, our blacksmith artisan rose video that we have posted. You can check that out if you want. So there you can see in these few slides, it creates a pretty nice effect. For our other feathers that we do, it's a lifesaver. I started hammering all those in, and you'll kill your arm. Now the video skipped forward a little bit here, but Basically all I'm using is just any Dremel or rotary style tool. The end on this is just one of their carving engraving bit ends. It's the medium quarter inch ball round, and it can be used on PVC, wood, or steel. Make sure that you look at the package before you buy. And essentially I'm just scribbling back and forth. I do have the original feather nearby for reference, and but the thing is this is art, so you want each piece to be unique, so don't copy it exactly. Just kind of go along, make your own pattern. Usually I start out wider at the top, get closer with the patterns near the bottom, and then I add in a little bit of extra texture around the base, where the little frilly part is, where it meets the stem or vein, and it creates a really neat effect. But the really cool part is coming up, and that's when you clear coat this thing. I just use a basic clear coat that you can pick up at any hardware or big box store, and the kind that I use actually dries in about 10 minutes, and dries to the touch. It cures within a few hours. It works fantastic, especially if you have more than one piece that you're going to be making. And before we get to that though, on the bottom of the vein I'm actually going to hammer it out a little bit to kind of give it a little bit more of a blacksmith look, and to also clean up any edges on there without utilizing a grinder again. And there you can see, just kind of taking it around, and by hammering like that too, the divots that it creates in the metal from the hammer just kind of adds a nice aesthetic to it. So, and then it'll be on to clear coating, and this project is done. And there you have it, the finished product. Looks really nice, makes a great accent piece for pretty much any outdoorsy decor or man cave. These make great gifts and are extremely popular amongst local turkey hunters and individuals online. So give it a try. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell so that you can be notified when we upload videos. I'm a working man. I work a full-time fabrication job during the day. I do this on the side. I've also got a family with 5 kids, and so I try to do as many videos as I can. Typically it's about 2 a month, and we're hoping to do more. With your support, we will definitely be trying to influx the videos. Thanks again. Check us out at facebook.com/EP Ironworks. And follow the link there to our Instagram page. Leave us a like there if you can. And look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you all.